Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rocket Fuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. Yeah, awesome. yeah. You are rocket fuel. That's awesome. My goodness. Guys, I am so excited to talk about this topic today because it's very personal. It's very personal. It is about home renovation. And yes, how it's so frustrating when you have been dreaming of this like kitchen, this bathroom, doing an expansion of your home, all this stuff. I mean, it takes a long time for you to finally get to that point. And boy, can it be a traumatic experience. And our expert today is on a mission to help people like us that are trying to DIY our projects actually like not get traumatized by that experience and manage them like a pro. Travis Rohrer, you are the founder of C3 Project Pros, and I'm very excited that you're here with us. I met you through an entrepreneur program that we're both involved in, and I was just in the process of renovating my kitchen. Actually, I'm still in the freaking process of renovating my kitchen. I know. I figured I would wait to tell you this live. I'm like, I'm still doing it. I moved into this house July of last year, dude. Yeah. So tell me, like, what are the common things off the bat? Okay. Well, what are the common things that I would be doing wrong? Like, why is it traumatic for me? And so many others.
I would say that one of the most common things that people do wrong is they change their mind midstream. They go into it with an idea, but no plan. And then once they've entered the queue, if you will, and starting to move the ball down the court of the process of home renovation, well, what about this idea? What about that idea? There's a new product, a salesman talked to you about something, and next thing you know, you're squirreling down the rabbit hole, and lo and behold, you're delayed time and time again.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. No. Okay, and I know that you have a lot of experience in this whole field. So tell us a little bit about your background and like how did you even get involved in helping DIY?
Okay.
Let's rewind back.
Yeah, so the canned resume items are third generation builder. My grandfather was one, my dad was one. My grandfather was very fastidious and everything was in decency and order. And I mean, I've got pictures of me at 5 and 6 years old with a little saw in my hand building crap with him. And those are cool pictures. When I look back, it's like, wow, I was doing that at a young age. I built a deck and a set of stairs, which is ridiculous, with hand tools, by the way, when I was like 13 for my aunt. And to be able to do the math and do that, it just made sense to me. So logically, it just makes sense. It's just, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care what you're building, it's boxes and triangles. That's it. Think about a roof. It's two triangles coming together, right? That's it. And so it really became a very simple process for me. And then, of course, years later, I joined the military. Now I've got this other fundamental background of really rigid structure and regimen to follow. And then when I got out of military, while I was going through college, I just fell back to construction because it was an easy way for me to make money while going to school. Next thing you know, I'm a lead carpenter. Next thing you know, I'm leading the entire crew, taking over projects. And then you know what happens when you're 21 years old. It's like, well, your boss is too dumb to be left alive and you're going to do it on your own. And then, of course, you run through that trials and tribulations. Next thing you know, I'm looking around. It's like, I guess I'm a builder now. And, I have
So you had a family background of entrepreneurialism. And so you had exposure to that, but your exposure was not necessarily to the business aspects of it.
Correct.
It was the actual execution of
the physical tasks.
Yeah.
And
thank you for your service.
Oh, thank
going
you.
into the military. My
Yeah.
brother's in the Marines. My dad was
Oh,
Army.
nice.
So yeah.
Nice. Yep.
You were
I was Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's how it really started. And my grandfather, he worked on renovations, and that's primarily where I got my start, was renovations. And the one thing I learned about renovations versus new construction, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Is it takes a lot more skill to do a good renovation than it does to throw up a new house. Even though there's all these components to a new house, you literally have a clean slate when you show up, and it's up to you to make it plumb level square. When you show up at a renovation, you're tying into what's there, regardless of its plumb level square, and you're sorting stuff out. So there's a skill set element to making that look right. That that there is some skill. There's a higher level of skill, I would say, to do a good quality renovation versus new builds, which is why time frame wise, it's like you're not always going to save a ton of time. The differentiate what I'm talking about here is, when I say DIYer, again, I'm not going to teach Wanda how to set cabinets, because that's not what I'm about. I would like to teach Wanda how to get herself out of her pickle and get her kitchen done, and I can help you sort that out.
Yeah. So when we know we need the pros, but we kind of want to manage our own thing. And what's interesting is I find, my understanding is that it's probably like kitchens and bathrooms that people, and maybe like master bedrooms where people like want to be personally involved in like the management of it, just because it seems to be a lot more personal. Is that a fair assumption?
Oh, absolutely. Kitchens and bathrooms are, forgive me for using this word, but I find those two specific spots to be the most intimate spots in your house.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're disrupting your kitchen, I mean, I'm sorry, your morning coffee routine is now disrupted. Your evening meal prep and planning is disrupted. Your bathrooms, I don't need to go into why that would be a disruption, but it is.
Yeah.
And these disruptions you need to be able to collapse time and get back to life and enjoy your vision, because your vision is what it's all about. I mean, the joy you see when you turn over a new project to somebody, that they're really happy that they got a new home or a new addition or a new kitchen. I mean, that's really cool to celebrate with them. And I've had the privilege of celebrating on open houses for brand new builds, for renovations, for, even for commercial buildings. And, I've done office space for, for friends that, or in general. But I mean, when you do that and they're moving into their brand new office, I mean, it's like this, I'm sorry, the smell of new carpet just smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's this like rebirth too, especially when you're renovating and you move into we moved into our house last July, and like, even though the kitchen was nice, I mean, there needed to be some upgrades, but then you just kind of want it to be your own. You're creating your own memories and conversations in that. And so, yeah, I can imagine that being, I somewhat imagine it, because I have experience when we got our island done. We're like, woohoo, we have an island, but now we don't have the counter that matches that whatever, and the other part of the kitchen, and this is just like,
yeah. And then living in a construction zone, it is stressful. It is a disruption. You don't want to mess something up. You don't want to be out of your routine. You don't want to be in the way. I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's what I refer to it. It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a treat. So a friend of mine says, like, yeah, it's quite a treat.
Yeah. Well, and you brought it up earlier to me about, renovation, and I think renovation as a whole lumps it up. And the reason I focus on kitchen and bathrooms, and you asked me about that, and it's literally for this simple reason. Most popular, most common renovation people do. It's really a value point to your home, intimate space. But the reason I chose to lay out how to specifically do a kitchen and a bathroom is because they're the most complex. Shy of building a new house or an addition, there's two subcontractors and two subcontractors only that aren't involved. Your excavation and your foundation guy. That's it.
Wow, that's true. You have electric, you have plumbing. Yeah.
Every other trade, every other discipline, everything is in your kitchen and bathroom. So, yeah, okay, I could have called it a home renovation course and lumped in kitchen and bathroom, but I think if you can tackle the complexities and the nuances of that much stuff going on in relatively small space, this course would teach you to manage your own house. And there would just be a couple more elements that I'd say, okay, you got to deal with city permitting, you got to deal with excavation foundation, you got to deal with utilities. Shy of that, now go build a whole house.
Yeah. So let me rewind for our Rocketeers listening here. So your jam, even though you have had obviously all of this experience in actual building, like your focus now is to actually help people that want to manage their own projects.
Yes.
And basically what I would say is anybody who has heard of other people saying, oh, this is trauma. Oh, it takes longer. It takes more money. It's always be prepared for the worst, blah, 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 right? It's like, why would you do it alone once you know that there's somebody that could teach you how to do it right so that it could be a good experience? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, why do people still not take your course or get your guidance?
Well, truthfully, it's fear. And frankly, most of the people I communicate with, I had a couple calls yesterday. One with a lovely lady from Chicago, and talking to her about what she plans on doing. My course is a perfect fit for her, and she's terrified. And I hear that, and so you want to talk about what brings me satisfaction is to be able to talk somebody through the emotion of being able to do it themselves. And I don't want anybody, let alone specifically, because my avatar typically. Okay, so in my whole career, I worked for couples mostly, right? A couple single people here and there.
Gotcha.
95% of the time with the couples, I dealt with the wife.
Right. It's driven by the female.
So when I speak, I'm speaking to women.
Yeah.
And not because for any other reason then that's just been my history, and that's what that's who I'm used to dealing with. Also, what I heard from her the other day was she felt put off. She felt not heard. She felt embarrassed. She felt unprepared. I mean, these things that she was
going by the contractors that she was interacting with,
right? And
gotcha.
and I
there's
think
this feeling of not really feeling empowered, right? You're feeling you're like starting this process at a disadvantage, and it's so personal
for no other reason than whatever individual prejudice somebody has.
Yeah.
And so my joy comes from seeing people overcome that fear, that lack of empowerment, to basically embolden them, empower them to like, yeah, you can have this conversation. And honestly, my secret sauce is in my first phase of the whole program. It's the pre-construction phase, which is where even seasoned general contractors don't fully do it, which has been my secret sauce. I do it, and then all I do is babysit, truly. And now keep in mind, I'm, by definition standards, I'm a master carpenter. I mean, I can stick frame, I can, stairs, round stairs, whatever. I can do it from framing to trim work. That's how we worked I'll say my generation. I'm, 53 now. And I'll touch on something that's, kind of scary about our trades, that, the trade industry is falling apart in my mind. But, people like me are not at 20 years old anymore. You see, I would challenge you to walk along or drive along any new development you see. How many stick frames do you see? Meaning frame roofs. It's all trussed. It's all this. It's all manufactured. It's all plug and play.
Oh, I see.
It's very nuanced in the structure of how things go, and that doesn't necessarily make it cheaper. It makes it because people don't have the skill set for it.
Right. It makes it easier to execute.
Yes.
But
I'm not diminishing the skill and the labor that goes into it. I'm not, because it's
but of course, if you're doing something from scratch, then which to that point, then it's interesting, because when you're doing renovation and you're dealing with existing structures, you really need to know all of that nuance.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I used to fuss because like my plumber would, I still do active renovations, by the way. I just finished one this last fall for a friend, had me come out. I flew back to Washington, did a renovation for him. And the plumbing rates right now are $150 an hour for a, basically shop rate laborer guy. I'm like, what? And electricians are $150 an hour. And carpenters, you're lucky if you can get $50-$60 an hour and have to apologize for that. So the value of perception of somebody being a journeyman electrician or plumber, which is a viable skill set, and a good trade, but our trade as a whole, gets diminished, the carpentry trade, if you will.
Interesting.
And I feel like sometimes we have to know more. I mean, we got the big trailer full of tools. We got to know plumbing and how it routes. We got to know electrical and how the circuits are going to work. We got, we have a general overall bigger scope of knowledge, but
right.
not, jerk of all trades, master of none. Right. Anyway, no.
Oh my God. No, I appreciate that, because I think it's important. Like you're creating a bridge where you're creating a bridge between the person that wants to manage their own
right.
project and a whole trade of folks that don't typically work directly, right? There's usually a general manager or somebody else that is that in between. So it is important to kind of teach the language. And I bet you part of why she may have not felt empowered, and a lot of us may feel afraid, is feeling that gap. It's like, oh, like, are they gonna pull one over on me, or am I gonna say something that's wrong, that seems stupid, and that's already gonna create a riff? Or, I mean, I think probably the biggest thing is like, are they gonna screw me over? Is the quality gonna be bad, or is the work not gonna be right because they know that I don't know?
Well, so to address that directly, in talking with her, I ask questions, probing questions like, so how did you communicate with them? How did you find them? How do you do this? So number one, finding subs, I teach you how to do that.
Subcontractors.
Yes. And then really in the pre-construction phase, again, I mean, so it all goes back to that main pre-construction phase. So products and specifications, have a clearly defined scope of work. I want X, Y, Z done, clearly laid out. That way, when you're getting your multiple bids, it's apples for apples, and not this guy saying, here's my general thing I'm going to do for you, and then I'm just going to change order you to death. And whether it's for lack of clarity, whether it's just I'm going to do it time and materials, and there's a lot of push and pull when it comes to how that contract language is written.
Well, yeah. And you're mentioning change orders, you're mentioning time and materials, all of these things where like, we just want to get our thing done. Right. So now we look at a contract, you don't really know what should be in the contract, what is typical, what is atypical. Should you expect a certain percentage of flexibility in the price because of the cost of materials, because you're doing a renovation in a home that the person doesn't know, right? So obviously it's fair to the contractor, the subcontractor, to have some flexibility too.
I'm going to say
ish. Tell me.
Yeah, because look, pick a sub, pick one, anyone, name it.
I don't even know. You see, I don't even know what is a subcontractor category. Like
a subcontractor is any category. It's like plumbing, electrical, mechanical, drywall, paint.
Yes. So let's say electrical.
Okay, that one to me has the most grace, because if you're doing especially in a renovation, because you'll look at your panel size when you show up at your project. Is there room to add circuits? What are you thinking about doing? But if you're clear up front, like your kitchen, for example, or you had an existing light circuit there. If you're switching stuff over, and say you're adding 10 lights, it's like, well, I can't add 10 lights to this circuit. Now, of course, I can't do electrical math for you on this call, but where my mind goes, like, you had an electrical circuit in there that fed 3 at this power. Now I'm going to switch it out to LEDs at this power. It's less. I don't have to add a circuit. I'm just basically rerouting the existing one. So that's now you're paying for just repositioning the lights and things. You may have to do some upgrades like GFCIs. You might want to add, maybe you added a garbage disposal where you didn't have one previously, or dishwasher where you didn't have one previously.
And the point is that I apologize as you're saying all these things, because you're like fountain of knowledge. But as you're saying it, I realize, well, part of it is sometimes we start a project just expecting, well, the plumber's going to, or the electrician's going to help us with all of this stuff. Right. Yeah. So what happens is once again, you're not empowered, right? You're just kind of hoping that the electrician knows all the things. And having a course like yours, where it's like, these are the things to expect. And obviously if I have some level of expectation saying, well, I would like 5 new light fixtures, and I was thinking about this and you're starting off your discussion with that subcontractor on a different level. Now, you're going to probably pay for it either way. I can imagine some people saying, well, my project is going to be expensive already. So like, should I pay for a course to help me manage my project?
Well,
Yes.
I'll give you the math. I'll give you the math case on that simply. I mean,
Yes.
my course is just under $2,000. Okay. With it, you get all the video lessons, the checklist that you'd ever possibly want to see. You get, I give a budget tool and a scheduling tool with video lessons and how to operate both. You get twice a month, I do an AMA, Ask Me Anything. So I do on the Success Finder, the platform, the community. Nice. I will do a call in. If you email me in your questions, I'll answer your questions regardless of what they are. I also offer a live, like a FaceTime call. I call it Project Rescue. So if you're in the middle of a nightmare, FaceTime me, show me your disaster. I mean, show me the physical problem.
Oh my gosh. Imagine having Travis there.
So here's the math case for it. Let's just say you're doing a kitchen, and let's just say that your average kitchen rough costs are $50,000, right? And that's not unrealistic in today's world. So I have liability insurance and the bonds and So I have a general condition fee, and I'm not afraid to say it, typically between 12 and 15% of a project to cover on-site supervision, liability insurance, all the new admin, bookkeepers, all that fun stuff, right? And on top of that, I mark stuff up.
When you're the
general, when I'm running a project, you're going to pay me. You're going to pay most generals a general condition line, and that's going to be typically, I say 10%. That's probably what that's going to be of the total project. So allocated to your project, if it's $50,000, now you're paying me $5,000 just for general condition expense. Now I'm going to mark it up 15 to 18% for me, for profit for the company to keep on going, right? So think 25% on top of your $50,000 to do that. And these fees are not, they're normal. They're not out of line. And I'm very efficient with how I manage subs. I get price points that are very good because I'm very clear and clean on what I do. So I actually do get a lesser price point, and I'm open book. I show you, here's what the plumber's charging me. Here's my thing. I show you. And I'm not saying I'm unusual with that. There's a lot of people out there that.
And I want to clarify with the audience, this is when you're in that position where you're managing it on behalf of somebody, right? So you're telling them, look, either you have somebody manage it, they're charging you for this anyway.
Yeah. So
then you're completely disconnected.
Yeah. So your $50,000 kitchen is now $62,500, right? Quick math. Or you can pay, buy a course for $2,000 with all the hand holding and help you ever want and manage it yourself. And here's the joke of it all. And this is, you and I discussed this when we were together last time. It's like literally my products, my checklist, my specific, everything that I give you. If you hire me, I need you to answer for me anyway in order for me to do my job. Right. So if you need me to babysit and take you to the cabinet store and point out pretty cabinets and say that, then sure, you're going to pay me for my time, right? Yeah. But you don't. I want to empower people. That's like literally you come to the subcontractor, and I want to get into. We'll pick one sub. I'll have you pick one. I'll tell you how to find them, because there's a way to find subcontractors, and I'm telling you, it's not on Angie's list, and it's not a bulletin board at Home Depot or Lowe's to get your any sub. That's not where you find them. And I teach you how to find subs. And I worked in the hospitality interest for a while, where I was working in 10 different states, and I was a new guy in every town. So, whether you're a homeowner or a new guy like me showing up, and I was doing multi-million-dollar projects in new towns. So what kind of trust level do you think they had with me? Yeah. None. So I teach you how to find subs. I can do it. And it's a weird way to do it. And people,
I of course I want to ask. Come on.
Painter. Okay. Honestly, my go-to paint store is Sherwin-Williams, and I don't ever get paid to advertise for them, but I love their products. Okay. Talk to the outside salesperson. You call the outside salesperson, tell him exactly what you're looking for. He'll give you the name of 2 or 3 guys, gals, whatever, because I've had, whatever, guys, gals in the trades. And then tell them exactly what your project is, because if you find a small one, and then I'll give you one more little tip. The painter will lead you to a drywaller.
Yeah. What about, this is a hard one. This is what I'm going to give you a hard one. Okay. What about people who do like, epoxy counter.
Oh, that's a specialty one. Are you now? If you're not talking you're not talking slabs, right?
No, I'm saying like doing epoxy over something that exists.
That's a good one. That one's worth a Google search. Because I honestly haven't done that.
Yeah.
But I would find them.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Well,
for example.
but that feels so comfortable to know that I mean, you have lived and breathed this space. And so
For my
that's
entire life. For example, here's one for you. When Laura and I bought our new house down here, we built a boat shed for us, right? So I had to pour a structural concrete slab. I don't do concrete. I can do it. No, I don't do it. So I need to find a concrete guy. And no, I don't go to the phone book. No, I don't go to the Home Builders Association. No, I don't go to that. I called the concrete plant dispatcher. I was like, give me the name of 3 dudes that do this, that are doing it good. So they gave me the name of 3. I called them, all 3. One guy blew me off. Second guy, just bad vibe on the phone. And I'm telling you, if a phone call feels funny, dude feels funny. Cut him off.
Yes.
So I met the third guy, and he says, I don't work for homeowners. I just don't work for homeowners. And so I'm like, I understand. He goes, how'd you find me? And I told him. And of course, I'm like, I understand what you're saying, and I get it. But I'm not a typical homeowner because this is my background. And so we engaged in a conversation, broke the barrier down right away. And he's like, the way you found me was really cool. And anyway,
wow,
he performed famously. Cool. He performed famously.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, we've been chatting so much. I typically like do this early. No, but I my listeners, our Rocketeers, know that I always ask our guests experts to provide some goodies, an audience gift, and a great piece of information. And you put together this PDF called Manage Your Own Kitchen Renovation with a lot of these tips that you've talked about, like avoiding scheduling disasters. I'm flipping through for those of you just listening, scheduling disasters and how to create a realistic schedule. These blind spots in your budget. I mean, this is good stuff. And I love that, obviously, just to give people the opportunity to meet you and get a vibe as to who you are, like why you do this, and how important it is to really consider getting expert support. So anyway, if you're a listener and you are contemplating any sort of renovation, I still recommend that you text this because it gives you some sort of insight as to what C3 Project Pros, right? C3 Project Pros and Travis does with his team. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to pick up your phone right now, please, and text RF for Rocket Fuel, RF-LIKEAPRO, all together, to 411-321. You know what to do. Provide your email address if you haven't texted a catchword before. But what you're going to do is receive this PDF, Manage Your Own Projects Like a Pro, and you're going to be able to learn more about Travis and C3. And I highly recommend that you connect with him. I believe I'm pretty sure you have some contact information there. Learn more about his course. You have register for the C3 AMA session. Tell me about what that is. You have a free weekly AMA. Tell me.
It's twice a month. So if somebody has a construction question, on our platform,
that's your ask me anything.
Ask me anything. Yeah. So literally whatever your question is, whether it's a structure question, whether it's a how do you find a sub question, whether it's like I've got a scheduling problem, this is out of sequence, what do I do? If you have a contract, call it in. I'm happy to answer your questions for you.
Oh my gosh, guys. Rocketeers, you get to ask Travis anything. This is
and so if, at C3 Project Pros, there's a lot of information there. I've written a ton of blogs, and I actually just posted one. Actually, I'm finished writing it now. It's called Low Hanging Fruit on a free website that I found that will give you valuation for projects associated with all your homes. And so I'll post that blog on there as well. It's called Low Hanging Fruit. And
man. All right, guys. So if you're in the US, especially, RF-LIKEAPRO to 411-321, you're going to please provide your email address, and you're going to get this right in your email. There is an attachment, a PDF, and that's where the goodies are. If you are outside of the US, if you're in Canada, or you can actually text to 1-909-741-1321. Outside of Canada, you can use WhatsApp, and you're going to text RF-LIKEAPRO to 1-909-741-1321. All that information will be in the show notes, but I recommend that you do it now because our goal is to inspire you into action, guys. Okay. So right now, if you know a renovation is in progress, you get to ask Travis, anything, right? If you have something planned, that's an even better time to start actually looking at what you can do to avoid some of those most common pitfalls. I've experienced it. I know we've all heard folks complaining about it. I know, Travis, you get very you get very passionate about, like, damn it, I hate people, talking about these poor experiences that they're having with.
No, it breaks my heart because people spend a lot of money, and it's anxiety, and and I have a firm belief, and my belief is this, that homeowners will make their best general contractor for themselves, because trust me, no one, and I mean no one's going to look after their money better than them.
Yeah.
It's their time, their money, their place. I mean, seriously, who better to look after it? It's like, you need a few simple things to tweak your language, to prepare yourself, and you can do this. I know you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest issues is that we don't know that there are people, that there's a Travis there to help us. It's like this feeling of kind of, I hate to say it, it's like an us versus them, right? It's like, all right, I want to get my dream kitchen. Oh, I gotta get ready for the fight, And do you have any tips actually on this difficulty in getting contractors, subcontractors now in this post-COVID situation? It seems like everybody is just so super booked.
Well, you and I
adding to the extension of timelines.
Well, you got a couple things that are, so how do you find them? I mean, each one has their own way of, I find them, plumbers, like I gave you the tip on painters, for example. So I would find that painter, and just when you're working with an individual that is referred to you from like an outside salesperson, you have a much better response rate than calling AAA painting in the phone book or whatever you aim for at an end.
Say Sherman Williams recommended you. It's like, oh, I better, respond.
Yes. To this person. And you're not making that phone call just yet. Just because you're making that phone call while you're in the pre-construction phase. And so you're fully prepared to have the conversation, the right conversation. And most of it is like, hey, I think I'm doing a kitchen remodel and I'm going to want some painting done. Nobody cares. I'm sorry. That's Charlie Brown's teacher. Want is what you hear. But if you call and say, hey, I've got a project coming up it's kicking off on this date, I will need a painter for this week, because when you're prepared to have that conversation, you will have a pre-schedule built, and you're saying, I need a painter for a few days on this date. Can you help me? I prepare you to that level.
Yes.
So that's what I'm talking about. There's a whole difference. For example, when I knew I was going back to Washington to do that project, when he said, will you come do this? And the project kickoff was this, and it was like 3 months down the road. I know how long stuff takes. I built out a complete schedule, pre-booked all my subs, start date and trim out date before I even went to Washington. And I knew there wasn't a product picked yet, because I know I understand lead times. I teach you lead times.
Yes.
And so when you're prepared for the conversation, this is what I want, and this is when I want it.
Yes.
You have so much more ammo in your holster that you're actually having a real conversation.
Yeah. And then versus like, oh, I'd really like to get this done. When would you be available? You're already setting yourself up as being wishy-washy, and then not knowing specifically what you want to get done. I bet you the subcontractor is kind of like, man, if I have a choice, if you have a choice to work with somebody that knows what they want versus somebody that's wishy-washy, you're going to pick the person that knows what they want.
Not just what, but when. You're forecasting that. So like, if you're thinking about starting a kitchen renovation next week, this is you're too far down the path for me. If you're thinking about a kitchen project in 2 months, I can prepare you for that. I mean, I can help you recover from 2 weeks out, because I know how to catch the fastball, right? Because that's how my head works. But that would be too hard. That would be too much information for you to receive to do in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
But if you with a proper lead up, you can do this.
Yeah. And it makes sense that when you're in that situation where it's hard to get somebody to say yes to your project, that how you're presenting the project, how much of a headache they perceive it to be for them, is a big factor in whether they make themselves available.
Well, and products, we've all heard the supply chain issues, and they are real. There's real problems going on in our supply chain. And I'll give you a case example of another way to find products, this actually blew my mind. I was doing a renovation for a good friend of mine. I I needed a kitchen sink. She sent me the specifications. I completely forgot to order it. Completely forgot. I was in the middle of like 4 projects. I spaced it. My problem, I got to have countertops templated in 4 days because it's on my schedule. Oh no, I don't have a sink. So of course I call Ferguson, I call Famillion, I call the plumbing warehouses. No sink, no sink. I mean, I'm calling Seattle, I'm calling Denver. They found 6 of them actually. And I want to say it was Denver, Salt Lake, wherever it was. And I was in Washington. They wanted to charge me an additional $600 to fly it to Washington in time for me, which of course I would have done. Because if I missed the schedule, I kicked the project down 6 weeks. You can't do that. You just simply cannot do that. So I call back to the Seattle guy. I'm like, seriously, you can't put it on, LTL. You can't do something to get it here. It's your company.
Like internally. Yeah.
Right. Because I used to fly a lot of products to Hawaii when I was working over there. It was just kind of standard fare. So I thought, no problem. The guy says, have you checked Amazon? And of course I'm like, what? I mean, I'm talking a specialty, one-off weird custom sink. Right. And I'm like, what? I'm like, never even crossed my mind.
No way.
Amazon Prime, next day air, boom.
Holy cannoli.
Are you kidding me? I now buy doorknobs, door parts, light fixture. It doesn't matter. I mean,
especially if you already know the quality,
it's the same stuff. I mean, if you're picking your lights from Seagull or Kitchler or whatever, check your local warehouse. What's the lead time? I mean, I was that project in Washington I just did, literally the warehouse couldn't get it. I ended up Amazoning it in.
Wow.
They could not get it. And I had it next day air. I was like, my trim out is happening.
Yes. Woo! Oh man, this is awesome stuff. It is evident, sir, why you are Rocket Fuel. And I think it's really important that people understand. And what's great is that you help people virtually. So no matter where your project is, that's the incredible part. Like, you do not have to feel alone anymore, guys. Okay. It doesn't make sense. You will lose money. You'll lose time. You'll create more headache. It doesn't make sense to be the one that also says, oh yeah, well, my kitchen went 50% over again too. And that's the thing. Like, why accept that?
No, I want to hear I did it myself and I saved money.
Yeah. It's like,
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. Actually, I did it myself with C3 and Travis, the project pros backing me up.
Well, I don't need credit. I want them. The glory is them because they have to do the work.
Yeah.
I'm just a guide.
Yeah. Be the weirdo that is at the party saying, actually, I had an awesome experience.
Yeah. Right.
And I saved money.
Yeah. So did I ever tell you what C3 stood for?
No. Please tell me. I'm sorry.
I bring clarity to the chaos of construction.
Oh yeah.
I know cheesy as that, right?
No, that's a good one. All right. So if you want clarity to the chaos of construction, you need to text RF-LIKEAPRO to 411-321. You're going to get some clarity on how to manage your own kitchen renovations, right? And then if you're outside of the US, if you're in Canada, you could text to 1-909-741-1321, or you could do that via WhatsApp, and it's going to be RF-LIKEAPRO as the message, all one word, and make sure to provide your email address. Thank you so much, Travis. We waited a long time to have you, and I'm really, really, really happy that you have shed your light and expertise on our Rocketeers.
I appreciate it, Wanda. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And have a wonderful trip wherever you go. You see, Travis is all over the place now. He's not bound by projects. He's just supporting people all over the world. All right. With that, I hope you, Travis, and I hope you, my Rocketeers, have a rockin' day. Bye now. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of rocket fuel. Until next time, adios.